evening, and thank you for tuning in to County Bars Association Live on CAN TV. I am your host today, Attorney Mika Thompson, and tonight we will be discussing the preview of the topics that members of the Cook County Bar Association will discuss for the next 8 weeks. Those topics include the federal health care law, criminal law, and policing, in various areas of domestic relations. Feel free to call in anytime during this broadcast to give your comments. What are the topics you would like to see the Cook County Bar Association discuss? I would love to hear from you. You can contact me at the number that appears at the bottom of your screen. That's 312-738-1060. That's 312-738-1060. Please note, you can also view this show online at CAN TV, www.cantv.org/live. As you may or may not know, the Cook County Bar Association is the oldest association of African American lawyers and judges in the United States. We take this time every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. to bring special guests and to discuss legal topics and provide helpful legal information. Although I am an attorney, I do not represent your interests. So if you do need an attorney or legal assistance, please give us a call at the Cook County Bar Association. That's 312-630-1157. Select one for our lawyer referral program, and someone will refer you an attorney that can help you. You can also get referred a lawyer by going to our new and improved website at www.thecookcountybar.org. Click on lawyer referral, and you will be able to see a list of attorneys and their contact names and numbers that you can call and ask them directly about your issue. Now to the show. I would like to take this opportunity to discuss the history of the Cook County Bar Association. The Cook County Bar Association was founded by a group of black lawyers who were licensed to practice in the state of Illinois and worked in Cook County. While the Cook County Bar Association was founded in 1914, the founders had been actively involved in civil rights issues affecting African Americans at that time. Since 1896, these same lawyers were meeting informally to plan protests against discriminatory practices in hotels, restaurants, and other venues of public accommodation. They also were actively involved in judicial elections and challenging racial segregation in schools. After formally establishing itself as a bar association, the membership began working toward improving the profession and the professionalism of its members, while continuing their civil rights activities. Today we plan programs that allow lawyers to learn about changes in the law and public policy issues that are being debated in court and in the legislature. We are a resource for attorneys who seek legal employment, advancement in legal education, and how to maintain things like a work-life balance. We are also a resource for those seeking to hire attorneys or for anyone with an interest in the law. This show is an example of how we serve as a resource to members of the public who are interested in learning more about the law and our American judicial system. This season, the Cook County Bar will start with a discussion about health care. The health care system in the United States is rather unique compared to other industrialized nations in this world. We do not have a universal health care system or a single uniform health care system. So, for example, universal health care is a health care system that provides health care services and financial protection to all citizens of a particular country. Under a universal health care system, the financial protections are designed to reduce the possibility that any one citizen's health care needs are not covered by the insurance options that are available to that citizen. whereas a single uniform healthcare system usually refers to a healthcare system that is financed for the services that are solely provided by the government. So in our system in the United States, for years we have been, the healthcare has been provided by a mixture of both public and private institutions and companies. We do not have only, as citizens of the United States, we do not rely solely on the government, or have not relied solely on the government to provide our health care. So companies like Allstate are private, where we do have public health hospitals that do provide health care services. However, I have also included, that's why I've discussed the healthcare, universal healthcare, and the single payer. Now, the single payer healthcare system is where the government, like I said, would be the sole source of the provision of healthcare services, as well as the financing of those healthcare services. So, in the discussions that you hear in the debates in the legislature and in the media, they tend to use these terms interchangeably. But for our purposes, I'm only using them to illustrate that that is not the case in the United States. It's not the case now, and it hasn't been in the past. Under the Obamacare, or the Affordable Health Care Act, we were allowed to receive tax subsidies to assist in payment of health care premiums. And also that the Affordable Health Care Act contained provisions that prohibited the denial of health care services based solely on pre-existing conditions, as well as other provisions regulating the health care system. So, but as you know, and most people have experienced, we do not have it where we only can rely on the government. The government has assisted in the payment of health care, health insurance, but it is not the sole source of health care services, and it is not the sole source for financing. So, if you are just now tuning in, this is the Cook County Bar Association's live hotline show, and we are taking open calls from the community about the topics that will be discussed by the Cook County Bar Association's memberships. Again, I am your host for today's show. My name is Mika Thompson, and we are discussing a preview of the 2017 spring season. Please call in and join our discussion by dialing the number that appears at the bottom of your screen. That's 312-738-1060. 312-738-1060. One of the other topics we will be discussing this season is civil rights. And on October 14, 2014, an officer shot and killed a young African-American resident of Chicago, Illinois. That young man's name was Laquan McDonald, and the officer's name was Jason Van Dyke. This shooting was captured on videotape and spurred hotly debated discussions as to what constitutes excessive force, what should be the punishment for officers who are guilty of excessive force, and what do we do with evidence of police misconduct. For example, do we release it to the public? How long should the evidence be maintained? These are the type of discussions that took place after the public was made aware of the shooting of Laquan McDonald. Laquan McDonald's case was not the only case that caught the attention of the nation. The Ferguson shooting is another case that is still on everyone's mind. In that case, Michael Brown was fatally shot by Officer Darren Wilson. The facts are not in dispute that the officer was investigating a report of robbery at a convenience store. Another fact that's not in dispute was that Michael Brown was in the commission of a robbery of said convenience store at the time of the interaction between him and the officer in question. And the officer shot 12 times. Now, however, there was some dispute as to whether this shooting was another example of the use of excessive force, and whether Michael Brown was resisting arrest. These two are examples of some unfortunate situations that are repeating themselves in American society today. And we are still, even though Laquan's incident happened 3 years ago, we are still debating what constitutes excessive force in Chicago and across this nation. And there still is a lot of discussion. In fact, in our state, there has been even some legislation regarding how long evidence of police misconduct can be held by the police authorities, and to what extent are the citizens of the state entitled to receive any copies of this evidence in order to use this evidence to hold the police officer accountable. At this time, we are also we do have a caller. Caller?
Hi, I'm watching right now, and I just wanted to know what type of activities does the Cook County Bar Association sponsor that somebody like me who isn't a lawyer can be a part of?
Oh, well, that's a good question. The Cook County Bar does sponsor a variety of activities that may be of interest to our viewing audience. We have sponsored forums regarding, for example, how to know your rights. What activities should you not or should you do when you are faced with an encounter or interaction with the police? So that's an example of different things that the Cook County Bar has sponsored. We also do charitable work with various community centers, shelters. We also work with the youth in preparing them for academic study. We sponsor job fairs for those who are interested in legal employment. Just recently, we had a resume writing forum. Well, that was sponsored by the Black Women Lawyers Association, but that's another bar association. And those are the type of activities that we provide that are of interest to the public. And an example of an activity is this show right now. This show is an opportunity for members of the Cook County Bar to answer questions from the viewing public regarding legal issues. So there are a variety of events that the Cook County Bar sponsors that are of interest to the public at large. And if you want to know more about those activities or the calendar of events that is active, the current calendar of events for the Cook County Bar Association, please feel free to go to our website at www.thecookcountybar.org. Click on events, and you will see a list of the events that are going on within this month currently that are being sponsored by the Cook County Bar. Of course, the membership meeting is for the members, but the other activities are available for a public to participate in because it's really just an opportunity to become informed about legal issues that are relevant in Chicago and the nation. Okay. Another shooting that occurred that is of interest, that was interest to the nation, is the shooting that involved LeVar Jones. This was not fatal, however, it was disturbing. It was caught on video camera. of the police car, and it shows a state trooper, Sean Gubert, pulling up to the station and then observing a black man exiting his vehicle. The officer stops his vehicle and asks the man for a license and registration. LeVar quickly turns to comply with the officer's request, and the officer begins shooting. Not once, but 3 times. This incident occurred in South Carolina. The officer was not charged with assault and has since been fired. Mr. Jones has received a approximately $285,000 settlement against the South Carolina Police Department. But again, these 3 incidences illustrate a practice of excessive force that has been going on in this nation. And to the extent that these things are still going on and members of the viewing audience have questions, we will be having a show or maybe 2 shows this season to address that issue of civil rights and community policing. And we welcome the community's input and comments and questions. So please stay tuned to upcoming shows that will be going on and sponsored by the Cook County Bar this season. Another case was the Trayvon Martin case. And this also introduced the question of what constitutes excessive force. So what do you callers think? What should be the rule of law regarding the use of force? There's a lot of marching in the streets, but ultimately we as the members of the taxpaying public are going to have to really address this issue. What do we want the standard to be? Domestic relations is another topic that we will be discussing on CAN-TV Live. And the area of domestic relations is pretty broad. We're talking about, when you say domestic relations, family law issues that typically pertains to divorce, child custody, parental responsibility, and prenuptial agreements with regards to protecting yourself prior to a marriage. But we also will be discussing relationships between landlord and tenant. We'll also be discussing guardianship. And guardianship involves the court-appointed person to take care of a minor or a disabled adult, as opposed to power of attorney, which can be executed by an agreement between someone who feels that they need assistance in taking care of their daily activities, financial affairs, healthcare responsibilities. So all of those type of issues will be addressed in upcoming shows by the Cook County Bar Association in upcoming shows. There have also been some very interesting topics with regards to domestic relations that appeared in the media. According to a Westchester judge who handled Sean P. Diddy Combs' case, the judge determined that $35,000 a month in child support was a reasonable sum of money for the star to pay to the mother of his first child. Combs' attorney has complained that the case is less about child support and more about adult support. So we would like to find out what the viewing audience's opinions are with regards to that type of case. We will also be discussing the law as it pertains to the citizens of the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois with regards to domestic relations. The law has changed in our state recently, and those particular aspects of the law will be thoroughly discussed in upcoming shows. Another incident, situation that occurred in the media with regards to domestic relations involved Christy Alley and Parker Stevenson. Stevenson proclaimed that he and Alley provided their children with bountiful material possessions throughout their marriage. Among the examples was a life-size baby giraffe rocking horse costing $10,000, only slightly more than your average toy. Along with the possessions came events of equal lavishness. Parker detailed annual Halloween parties complete with marching bands, cavalrymen, and petting zoos that cost approximately between $20,000 and $25,000. During Christmas festivities, the couple would fly in Santa Claus to the stars and spend $30,000 to $40,000 just in Christmas gifts. Considering the level of luxury, it isn't the least bit surprising that a parent might request a higher sum of numbers than in the more typical case. So, in your opinion, is that sufficient child support, or is it less? Countless courts requests over the last decade suggest that Allie and Stevenson's story is a norm for wealthy couples. In 1995, Jim Carrey's ex-wife Melissa requested an increase in child support payments from $10,000 a month. Now that is definitely more than my clients see with regards to requests for child support. And the former Miss Carey saw the sum as insufficient to cover her new expenses as their daughter grew older. Justifications for a higher monthly price tag came from the need for horseback riding lessons, personal trainers, headshots, and a projected $200,000 Pilates and music practice studio. These are just some examples of the type of child support payments and requests that have been filed by individuals of means. Now, typically, those are not the requests that are being filed by parents that are middle income, average income, especially here in the city of Chicago. The law with regards to child support in the state of Illinois tends to be based on the incomes of the parent that is going to be primarily responsible for financial support, and is not the parent that has the parental responsibility between the two parents. The courts look at the statute in Illinois, looks at the number of children that the parent, what was formerly referred to non-custodial parent, has, and the income. It is based on 20% if there's like one child, and then it goes up from there. Our domestic relations child support law is statutorily based. And again, that's basically for your average middle income earning parents. The laws with regards to more wealthy parents are more detailed and specific. But this concludes the Cook County Bar Association's first show of the 2017 spring season. We thank you for our caller that called in. We look forward to our callers in the future for upcoming shows. And I'd like to thank Dartesia Pitts, who was our phone tech for today's show. She is a member of the Cook County Bar, and she is the upcoming president of the Cook County Bar for the next bar year. So, thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you next week when the topic of discussion will be the ACH, the American Health Care Law that was proposed by the Republicans in the United States Congress. The question is, did the citizens of Chicago dodge a bullet? Tune in for that show next week. Thank you and have a good evening.